We're back at the studio. I'm going to be sharing with you 6 of my favorite exercises or lifts, resistance training exercises that I believe are underrated. These are things that I think more people should do, and I can't quite understand why they don't. It's not to say that if an exercise did not make the list, that it's inferior to what I'm going to show you. These are 6 exercises that I think have in large part been forgotten, kind of fallen through the cracks, and are just not seen as very sexy. But man, are they effective. Do I believe that they'll help pretty much anybody achieve really good results with their fitness, with their strength, with their physique. Very good, very easy. These are going to work for you if you're like brand new or if you're advanced. I think you'll enjoy them. The first one, and this shouldn't surprise a lot of you because this shows up a lot in my programming with my clients on social media, is actually just the plain and simple push-up. I think this is more the case for men than it is for women, but somewhere in their training career, a lot of people decide, fuck it, I'm too good for the push-up, I'm not doing that shit anymore, I am too advanced, it's not going to work for me, I'm doing bench press with the bar, or I'm doing bench press or chest press with the dumbbells. I'm just not getting enough out of my push-ups, I'm too advanced. And I would argue that you are quite literally never too advanced for a good push-up. And in fact, a push-up is not the same thing as a bench press. Do they work the same muscles? Yes, the chest, the shoulders, and the triceps work quite hard on a push-up and a chest press, but they're not the same. And it's for this big reason here. The positioning of my scapula, so my shoulder blades, all right, the bones on the back of my rib cage here, the kind of back portion of my shoulder, the wings, those triangular shaped bones. When I'm doing a push-up, okay, I'm going to do this from the knees so it's easy to talk and do. My scapula have the opportunity to move across my rib cage in a way that they don't if I am pressing with dumbbells. So if I were on a bench, my scapula aren't going to move well. They're pinned to the ground or a bench. But when I do a push-up, and I'll show you guys here on this elevated bar because it's really easy to see, my scapula, and forgive me, you'll probably watch my elbows hyperextend because I have quite a bit of laxity in those tissues. So don't freak out if you see my elbows bend. But when I go down to the bar and I come up, my scapula get to roll forward as much as I want on a push-up. So my scaps have a lot more freedom on a push-up than they do when I am on a bench. I just don't get that same level of movement. And I would argue that having that mobility and that freedom in your scapula is a really great feature of the push-up. It's a really great benefit of the push-up, in fact. Now, you might be thinking, well, I can do a shit ton of push-ups before they get difficult. Good for you. Then make sure when you're doing push-ups, you do a shit ton of push-ups. The other day on this channel, I posted a full push day workout, and I finished with 100 push-ups, which was substantially less challenging than you might like let's say if I weighed 190 pounds and I did 100 reps of like 190 pound bench press, that would have been harder than 100 reps of bodyweight push-ups. But by like the 3rd or 4th set, using the push-up as the end of my workout, I was cooked. And that's because this lift is very good at being a lift that you can control, okay? If you go slow on the way down, you really accumulate a lot of tension. You get great tricep activation, great chest and shoulder activation. Additionally, if you're somebody for whom the regular push-up is too easy, and doing more of them, like, I'm going to do a set of 30 or a set of 25, if that doesn't do it for you, something you can do, it's actually really effective, is just add range of motion. So elevate your hands and go lower than normal. Get extra range of motion out of that push-up. That tends to be a great way to take this exercise that we so often think of as like, oh, it's just for beginners. It's certainly not. And make it a lot harder And when you think about the options you have for training your chest and your shoulders and your triceps, you pretty much have bench press, overhead press, dips, and push-ups. And a lot of people, the minute they can do a dumbbell press or the minute they can do a barbell press, they just take the push-up, they fucking throw it out, and they never do it. And to me, that's crazy. So the number one most underrated lift in the gym is the first lift most people do, the push-up. You can do that throughout your whole training career, and it will contribute to a ton of strength and a ton of good development in some really important muscles. The next lift that I think is underrated and oftentimes misapplied and underappreciated for what it can do, and that is the kettlebell swing. The kettlebell swing is a hip hinge. It's basically an RDL done with speed. Why would that be valuable for the average person? Let's think for a second. What position do most people spend all day in? This flexed position, where they are usually flexed at the hips, rolled forward at the shoulder, typing away, fucking around on their phone, TikToking their brain into oblivion with digital fentanyl. You know what the opposite of sitting on your ass swiping fucking TikTok is? It's swinging a heavy ass kettlebell and promoting hip extension, squeezing your glutes, okay? Extension equals good. Sitting on your ass all day equals bad. This lift allows you to train hip extension with power. You can train it for reps. You can train it for time. Do you hear how I'm still kind of trying to catch my breath? If you were to grab this bell and do 20 kettlebell swings, it would toast you aerobically. It would toast your glutes, your hamstrings, your core, your low back. I mean, I think about this as being like, okay, if I only had this kettlebell and I just did 100 kettlebell swings a day, 10 sets of 10, my posterior chain, my glutes, my hamstrings, my back would be very strong from just this movement. My hinging mechanics would be very robust and well developed. I would do a lot more extension than if I didn't. And for many people, a kettlebell swing might be the only exercise they do that has any component of speed, power, and ballistic nature whatsoever. They do everything slow. And I think that when I really think about what I want my hips to be able to do, one of the things is extend with force. I know you guys are probably like, oh, extend with force. You want to have snappy, powerful hips. That's going to help your squats, your lunges, your deadlifts. And this kettlebell swing will probably make you better at deadlifting than almost any other exercise that isn't like squatting and deadlifting because of the power and the carryover to hip extension strength. Remember, power is plane specific. I can take this ball and do a million overhead throws like this, and it will make me no stronger at a lateral throw, okay? Power is plane specific. Now, if I did a bunch of lateral throws and I'm a pitcher, I might find that when I go to actually pitch, I have more power in this plane. Well, here you go, folks. Sagittal plane power, sagittal plane hip extension, super underrated lift. That shit's gonna carry over because of the plane specificity to almost every other lift that you do. And it's for that reason I think the kettlebell swing is highly underrated. Number 3 is a form of spinal flexion, and it is the cable crunch. I really like the cable crunch because it allows me to train spinal flexion, which is great for developing the rectus abdominis. I also like the decline crunch. That almost made the list, but this I think is one that's super duper similar. And why I enjoy it is because it applies stress and load to the crunch, which so many of us need to do and want to do. We want to develop our abs, but oftentimes we do it without load. And that kind of minimizes the efficacy of our efforts. I've shown you guys before why I don't love doing crunches on the floor because they limit range of motion and they're hard to load. This solves both problems. I will also do cable crunches in a way that I think many people would consider strange. I will set up in this pattern here and I will pull like this. I will pull my elbow towards my knee. And as you can see here, I get a lot of spinal flexion. And sometimes this is actually how I teach this move because you can actually see the rib cage coming down in the mirror. You can do it like this, standing as well. I don't think that's as effective as kneeling, but the point is getting some load while you flex and compress this kind of canister here, bringing the pelvis and the rib cage closer together. Very good way to develop your core for strength, and you don't have to go all that heavy when you're learning. Cable crunch is an awesome movement. Now, number 4. This one I absolutely love, and I feel like it might be making a little bit of a comeback and becoming slightly more popular. Depends on who you talk to. Most people hate them, but it is a high box step up. And so when I say high box, I mean you want the box to be above your patella. That's your kneecap. Why do we like this? First things first, there's a bunch of shit you can do for legs. Front squats, back squats, hip thrusts, deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, walking lunges, reverse lunges, Bulgarians, leg press, all of that, right? Only a few of them are unilateral, one side at a time. Think lunges or single leg press or maybe B stance RDL, okay? This is a one side at a time exercise. So automatically it falls into a category of, hey, we don't have too many single leg exercises. Additionally, lunges aren't for everybody. They're really difficult. And I think the step up is actually a little easier than the lunge. And if you come down slow, you get amazing stretch into the glutes. You're already starting with a lengthened glute in this kind of flexed position. So you know you're going to use a lot of glute to come up. And then you're going to come down slow, crushing quads, crushing glutes. You don't need weight to make this difficult. You can use a weighted vest if you want, or like one light dumbbell. But for most people, just body weight alone is going to make this an effective movement for the glutes and for the quads. And when I think about training and exercises that are underrated, one of the things I think about is like, do people actually do this shit? And this is one that, frankly, people don't do very much of because it's super difficult. And I totally get it. Number 5, another one that just blows my mind that more people don't do, because most of us don't do anything whatsoever in this plane of motion, is a wood chop. So I'll show you guys this way. I'm using this long row panel because I really like it. But a wood chop occurs in what we would call the transverse plane, which is the plane of motion that we rotate through. So it kind of divides the body in half and we rotate through. And if you think about athletics, you have baseball rotational, right? You have throwing, so that could be football, baseball. That's rotational. Tennis, golf, all of these sports that occur through a little bit of the frontal plane, but definitely this transverse plane. But all of your weightlifting is in the sagittal plane like we talked about with the kettlebell swing. Well, the wood chop kind of fixes that because it brings an element of rotation into your training and it gets you training in that plane. So how can you do the wood chop? If you're an athlete, maybe we do it with some power so you get some plane specific carryover. Let's say you're doing it to strengthen your core and you're kind of new to things. You can do it slow and steady to build stability. Let's say you're a little more advanced and you are not necessarily training power, but you're trying to train some stability. You can do it from a split stance and come across like this. There's so many ways to incorporate rotation. I think the main thing though is that you actually incorporate it, and this is going to allow you to do that. Okay, the last, and I would say most underrated lift is something for your forearm. So this is the simplest way I can show you. This is going to train this part of my forearm, flexing and curling up, okay? Boom. So training the muscles on the inner side of the lower arm. And then if you want to train the top side, I'll show you easily with this angle. Same thing, you're just flipping over and rolling up. Okay. These small little pieces of tissue right here, they don't seem all that important, but I'll show you something if you zoom in on the camera that I think will kind of make it make sense. Now you might not be able to see because I have some hair on my arms, but right here on the forearm, when I start wiggling my fingers, making a fist, you can see this muscle tissue in here. It moves around quite a bit. And that's because the muscles of your grip and your fingers and your hands, this is all tendons. The muscles go way up here, all the way into your elbow. So when you're doing this or you're doing this, you're strengthening your hands, your grip, your wrist. You're preventing elbow pain by creating more stability and strength around that joint, which is very, very good. And most people I know do not train their forearms at all whatsoever in any capacity other than like their bicep and their back training, just the grip. So a little bit of direct forearm training, grip training. Here's another good example of a way you could train your forearms. You can just hold a bar and you can roll it up like this. You could do a reverse curl, come down under control like this. Honestly, simple forearm training can make a really big difference. So there you have it, folks. 6 lifts that I think are fairly underrated. Push-ups, kettlebell swings, cable crunches, step-ups, direct forearm work, and rotational work, specifically the wood chop. I would recommend including each of those in your routine here and there. I think they can make a really big difference in the outcomes you get in your training, and they'll help you feel good, feel athletic, and stay functional in all that you do. Be sure to like this video, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video and want to see more stuff like it that you can take to the gym and apply right away.